Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Is your girl Emusa Imperial? If this is your first time of tuning into my channel, I want to say a very big thank you for tuning in or for stopping by. It really means a whole lot to me. If you are my returning subscribers, I want to say a very big thank you, my dear ones. It really means a whole lot to me. For today's video, I want to quickly share a well detailed tips or guide on how I was able to ace my CELPIP exam. For those of you who don't know what CELPIP is all about, so CELPIP is one of the English exams that one needs to take to either participate in the express entry profile for permanent residents for permanent residents or for work permit application. Given the fact that CELPIP is one of those languages that people tend to find a little bit difficult to pass, despite the fact that most of us are from an English speaking country. CELPIP is one of those exams that makes you look as if you're dumb, even when you're not dumb. Dumb in the sense of not knowing English. So I kind of perceive it this way, that CELPIP is something that kind of tries your patience. I have known people who have written it up to 10, 15 times, even more than 15 times, and they are still writing because they need to achieve this particular band that sets you apart for you to get the maximum point you will be needing for your express entry. So I felt should share my experience, because given this experience I already have, or I had, I was able to help 2 or 3 persons within my cycle to achieve their desired score. And it gives me the bragging rights to say I am eligible enough to say I can give you guys the points, or the tips rather. So without further ado, we will dive in on what we have for today. Sit back, relax, and we shall begin after this commercial break. Do not leave. I'll be back, okay?
This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round.
Welcome back once again. Like I mentioned, so this guide is something that really helped me. Is based on my personal experience, and so this my self-paper exam, I have written it, not, I think if I'm to count, I've written it up to like 3 or 4 times. This was the fourth one I actually like aced it. Another thing again I want to say is that CELPIP is based on the topic. Most times you might be lucky to get the topic that you kind of find it so easy. Let's say the topic in history, hospitality, science, so on as entertainment, so on and so forth. It depends on the kind of topic you get to see on the day of your exam. So no one is ever ready to know the kind of topic they will be seeing in the exam. But one thing for sure that I've come to realize based on my observation, I am very 90% correct based on my observation that this is how they go with their questions. So I think, or I believe, their questions is set based on the seasons. I remember my first self paper I wrote around June. If you don't know this, June is Pride Month in Canada, and not self paper. I think it was my last IELTS I wrote. So the IELTS question, all the questions was revolve around Pride Month. And during that Pride Month, given the fact that I came from a country that we are not so used to pride, so the question was a little bit difficult for, not difficult, it was a little bit confusing, that all my answers were against what was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be on for. So that made me realize that every season has their question. So if you're writing towards the June, July, you should be able to get maybe tourism questions, or summer activities questions like Pride Month, maybe like FIFA World Cup, which is coming in a few months, depending. Same thing with winter. I believe winter questions usually revolve around the winter activities we have in Canada, like what's the name of these hockey games and all of that. So that's is my observation based on each season. So depending on when you've enrolled for your CELPIP, each questions comes in based on the seasons we have for each month or for each quarter of the year. Maybe from January to March or April seems to be winter, and then from April to June seems to be spring, and from July or June to like September, October, which is summer slash spring, summer slash fall. So every season has its own question. So that's just how I kind of perceived it. And based on when I wrote my final self-paper exam, which was on July 4th, the questions that I got to receive on the day of my exams were all about tourism and hospitality. And if you see tourism and hospitality questions, they usually come out during the summer period. So I believe that's just what I would say one of those tricks. Depending on where you want to write your exams or book your exams based on the season of the month or season of the quarter of the year. That way, either Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, depending on when you want to write the exams, try and read or do some research on the questions within those months you are applying, or you've applied, or you're preparing for your exams. So this is what I have to say based on my observation, and believe me, my observations are always correct. So let's dive in. So for CELPIP, we do have 4 sections in CELPIP. So we have the reading section, we have the reading section, we have the listening section, we have the writing section, and finally we have the speaking section. So I believe all these sections are based on time limit. I think it's like an hour plus. So in total, maybe like 4 hours or 4 hours plus should be the total hours for all of these sections rather. So these techniques are based on purely my experience. Like I mentioned, there's no official rules, and they are meant to help you stay calm, organized, and confident. So beginning with the first section, which is my reading section. So for my reading section, this is how I was able to approach it. So I remember I actually did practice with some questions. Like I had these YouTube questions or YouTube preparation material I use, which is called Axix, something Axix. I'm going to link the name here so you guys can see more about it. So I actually practiced this like 24 hours or maybe 36 hours before my exam because I didn't have time. So I just had to like glance through to see how the reading is all about. I know the reading sections are always like up to 4 or 5 sections. Like I mentioned, it's been like 2 years I wrote this exam. So please try to do your own investigation to be sure what I'm saying. But I know the reading section is up to like minimum of 3 sections if I'm not mistaken. Or yeah, I know it's minimum of 3 sections. So for each section, they usually begin with easy section, and then a little bit difficult section, and then they proceed to the difficult section. And mind you, for easy sections, I think their point is not as high as the harder questions. So the harder questions gives you more points, and the easy questions gives you less points. So for the reading, like I mentioned, when I got to the reading section, so this is actually my trick number 1. So my goal was to be accurate and not to be fast in the sense of speed. So these were my 2 goals. And I remember when I first got into the examination, my section was literally close to the door. So I wasn't placed in the middle, because middle sometimes makes you a little bit distracted, given the noise of the keyboard when they start typing. So for some weird reason, I didn't request. I felt it was where my name was supposed to be, because once you arrive, your name has been placed on each desk table, on each table, on each desk. Yeah, on each desk. So you go to your desk where your name has been placed there. So my table was literally like a table away from the door. And then on my row, I had like 3 empty tables, which kind of made me which kind of gave me that quiet area that I was actually hoping for, because the 3rd one I wrote before the 4th one, I was actually placed at the middle, which was like a very, very, very bad sitting plan for me. So moving forward, so when I arrived, I got seated on my table, and after the instructions and protocols that concerns the CELPIP exam, when I started, so the first thing I was very particular about was the accuracy and not being a rush. So I actually took my time because I know every question has its own time. I think it's like 60 seconds or 30 seconds. The easier questions had like 30 seconds, then the harder questions had like 60 seconds for you to answer your question before it moves over to the next question. So on my first question, everything was going easy, smooth, and everything was so easy. So one of the key points that I did was the first thing I read the questions. I read the questions to have an idea of what I'm looking for. So after I read the questions, then I dived into the passage to find the answer. Usually the first answers are always on the first paragraph. So each question goes on first paragraph, second question, second paragraph. Sometimes you see the second questions at the end of the first paragraphs. So bear in mind, first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, depending on the number of questions you have. So that's one of my trick. So the second one, once the second point was the moment I felt so confident of the questions I already answered, the answers, I didn't skip. I let the question elapse and move me over to the next question. So that way it gave me time to still like glance through to tell myself I'm very confident that this is my final answer. So this actually helped me to stay calm and I avoided panicking and all of that. So because I managed my time carefully, I was able to be sure of my questions. Even when I got to the section 4, which was the hardest part of the question that usually like find the title of each passage like A, B, C, D, E, F, I took my time. And this technique really helped me even when I wasn't so sure of the answer. I still didn't change because I believe my first instinct is always right. So when I got to the other parts that the questions were a little bit tricky, I went with my first instinct, like this is the answer, and then I didn't click next. I still ended up like taking my time to read and make sure that I'm understanding the question. So for tips for the reading is do not speed, like do not click next question even when you have like 30 seconds, because believe me, those 30 seconds can actually help you make up your mind or see the right answer. Second of all, I read the questions before answering the answer. Third of all, I didn't panic. Moving on to the second one, which is listening. So this listening is very delicate because a day to my listening exam, I actually had to clean my ears with earbuds. I had to clean my ears and I practice listening in a very quiet volume for me to be able to like understand. For me, listening isn't something that is difficult for me because I've been listening to Canadians speak and I'm used to their accents and I'm used to their intonation and I'm used to their grammar. So even when they are sleeping and they're talking, I can tell you I can explain or hear what they say 100% time. So listening wasn't something that was hard for me. But another thing again, it becomes very tricky. So the first point I did for my listening, the moment I started my listening, I asked for 6 blank papers. So for those 6 blank papers, I think for each sections in the listening, I think they were up to like 6 or 7 sections, but I know it's minimum of 5 sections for listening. So for each section, I had each paper for each section. So section 1, I had a plain paper for each. Section 2, I had a plain paper for each. So till the end of the section. And so the moment I started doing the listening, I was noting down points like colors, address, names. So those were the points I was noting. Mind you, it goes from easy to harder questions. So these were my tricks or these were my strategy on how I was able to ace my listening. I took notes I like one of my strategies was taking notes. I was very sure of the points to take note of. And I remember when I got to the third or fourth section that requires 3 people interview, where you have A, B, C, D, either they are arguing or something. So when I got to that part, I had to draw a line. So that line I drew more like a column for the recording that involves multiple speakers. Yeah. So for the column that requires multiple speakers, I divided my paper into columns. And for those columns, I labeled them A, B, C, D. Sometimes not just A, B, C, D. I also label them based on their gender, if it's male, female, male, or based on their sitting position, sitting 1, 2, 3, or based on their name if I get their name correctly. So that was like the first point I did when you, because those other part is what gives you your main point. So what I did was I did all of that, and as each person spoke, I was noting down what that person was saying. Like I mentioned, it was point. So let's say Mr. A was talking about snow and Mr. B was arguing about snow. I tried to draw an arrow that signifies they are both saying the same, or they are both discussing the same stuff. For example, if Mr. A argues that why should they plow snow, Mr. B will like, why should a resident plow snow when there's a management? So it's either on or for. So my point, I was trying to use greater than and less than, because I remember greater than is like you are against. No, greater than is like you are for, and less than was against. So those were like my arrows, or like my strategy on trying to say who is for who and who is against who. So those were the points I used for my listening, and this really helped me. After when I was done listening, another thing again, you need to pay attention to know what they are talking about. So I was only noting down the main points. So after the listening, then I went to the question. So I went through my answers to see who is for who and who is against who, or what they were saying. So these were the key points I took down during my listening. Moving back to writing, for this writing I got a 9 band. There's usually 2 sections in the writing. The first section is like formal or informal letter, depending on the question given. I think it's usually like 120 letters, if I'm not mistaken. Like I mentioned, please do your due diligence. For the letter, it's usually like light, right? I say light. Oh my Igbo. It's usually like write a letter to somebody you know, or saying something. Is very direct, simple and direct. Then for the second part, which is more like asking for your own point, so they'll give you 2 ideas. So you need to write. It's more like a debate, is how I see it. So for the writing, I kind of see it as a very debatable letter, the way they'll ask you what you should do. So you have to pick one point that you want to go for or go against for. So like I mentioned, you have to go pick one and then talk about what you want to talk about there. And so for this writing, they just want to test your grammar, on how good you are with playing around grammars, accuracy. Yeah, I think that's just about it. How you structured your writing, making sure your responses had a clear beginning, middle, and ending. Yeah, so the beginning part, which is the introductory part, is very important. You need to show how good you are in introducing your question, or your title, your yeah, either your question or your title, or the point you want to make. So you have to have a very good structured introduction part, and then the middle, which usually like 2-3 paragraphs, and then the conclusion, how you conclude. So concluding part is usually combining the on or for against point to say this is why you say this is good, even though this is, I don't know if you get my point. So that is for reading. So you need to play around with your grammars, your structured, and yeah, and how you pass your ideas. Yeah, that's just it, I'll say, for the writing. So moving on to the final part for the speaking. For my speaking, I didn't really find speaking hard. Mind you, so because I wasn't in a rush to go to the next question, I was very lucky to be able to get to my speaking, because speaking is usually the very confusing, not really confusing, is the very noisy or annoying part, because when everybody starts at the same time, everybody tends to arrive at the same time, which is the speaking. So that is where you'll be hearing different accents. Mr. A is speaking Indian accent, Mr. B is speaking Filipino accent, Mr. D is speaking Iranian. Like the accent just contradicts everybody. And at this point, you'll be trying to like speak out loud so that you think they will hear you. So at this point, this is where the supervisor will come and tap you like, oh, reduce the volume. So because I started on a good note by not skipping to the next question. When I had some time left, I allowed the time to elapse and take me over to the next question, starting from my reading to my listening to my writing. So when I got to my speaking, I was the only one in the hall. I didn't even know because I didn't even care who was on my left or who was on my right. Mind you, there was nobody on my left or right. So I was just focused in my own room or in my own space. So I didn't really know what was happening behind. I didn't even remember listening or hearing people talking. But I remember I heard people talking when I was in my writing. Yeah. So when I finished my writing, mind you, for my writing, I got 9 band. So when I finished my writing, I got to my speaking. Speaking was so easy. They just want to know how good you are with your intonations and how good you are when you are speaking, like in the sense of passing your answering the questions, because they might ask you, a friend of yours is traveling to blah blah blah, blah. They don't know which transportation system to use. Tell them which one you think is ideal for them. So this is like an informal way of speaking to the person. So for the speaking, what really helped in my speaking is that because I have this very good friend of mine that I talk to almost every day, so that was the character I used. I already pictured as my main character. So for every question that requires me talking to somebody, her name just pops up. Her name is Sarah. So the moment they ask me, talk to your friend, blah, 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 like, hi Sarah, I heard blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't so hard for me to come up with a character name. So it was so natural for me because it was as if the person was there. Given the fact I'm a very lovable person, and I am, when it comes to communication and customer service, is something that I'm very very good at. I would say it's actually my forte. So it wasn't something that I find it difficult to when it comes to expressing myself or talking to somebody. I'm very bold when it comes to that. So it wasn't something I find it very difficult or shy about, because I know some people usually have this exam fever when it comes to speaking. When it comes to speaking, they just freeze. But it wasn't. It was very natural for me. Like, and given the fact that I was the only one in the exam hall, it was as if I was just talking to myself. Everyone was as quiet as a graveyard. Like, I was literally the only one. So the question was so easy. So the environment was very quiet for me, which is a very important thing to look out for. Having a very quiet environment, even when you're not making point, as long as the environment is quiet and they can hear you speak clear, concise, and like in a calm way, like it just made everything very easy for you, even when you're not making points, or even when you're not making sense. It was so easy for me because everyone was quiet. So this actually also helped me stay calm, and I was very fluent in all areas of the speaking exam. This light is coming. Anyways, I love the effect it's giving. So this actually made me very quiet and fluent in every aspect. At some point, I actually had to pause to think. There was this part that required me to talk about something that I'm very good at, because I'm in the hospitality, and I'm actually in the hospitality industry. So most of the questions I actually got was all about hospitality. So it was very easy for me, very, very easy for me. It was about menu tasting, food, drinks. I was very good with the drinks type, menu type, fine dining, local dining, casual, like everything was so easy for me. So it wasn't something that I was trying to like think of the vocabulary to use, because it's my line and I know all the vocabs to use. So everything was just coming out as if I am selling something to a customer. So that was just how my speaking went. And when my result came out, I think it came out 24 hours after my exam, I got a band 11, which gave me my total points, 135 points for my express entry profile. So in conclusion, for my final thoughts when it comes to CELPIP, I would say CELPIP is not just about English ability. It's actually about staying calm, managing your time. Time is very, very important. Like, time is of essence. Time is one of the things. So it's about managing your time, staying calm, and using this simple strategy. You don't even have to blow big grammar for you to like ace it. If you can give the basic Canadian English or the basic Canadian grammar, you're good to go. Like the synonyms and mostly synonyms. Like, instead of using the generic vocabs, you can just up your vocabulary a little so bit. The thing that actually helped me get through this was because I believed in myself. I actually gave myself the grace to know that if I fail does not mean that I'm a failure. I was even ready to go back. Matter of fact, the third one I wrote it 2 days before the current one I aced, because I remember when I wrote it, I was so pissed at myself because the question wasn't something I was looking forward to, and I was so mad because I was placed in the middle of everybody talking. So that distraction I had from the other test takers actually put me off. I was like, what the hell? Like, I was like, what? Like, I was like, I didn't even like, I wasn't focusing. Even when I kept on reading the questions over and over and over again, I kept on reading it, like, it wasn't sinking in. I was like, hell no. Even when I finished the exam, they called me like, oh, how was it? I'm like, you know what? I'm going back again to rewrite. This is just what I know I will be getting. And when the result came out, I didn't really do bad. I didn't really do bad for my speaking. I got 9 on my speaking. For my listening, I got 8. For my writing, I got 8. It was my reading, I got 6 because I wasn't even paying attention. I was literally distracted. And one thing about me is that once I have a little distraction, it throws me off. So that really made me tell myself, okay, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to zone out and just see myself as the only person in the exam hall. And luckily for me, I was actually placed in the area that requires me see myself as the only one in the exam hall. So I think is the mindset you go with. And another thing again, I don't know, sometimes is how your day begins that determines how well your exam will go. Because if you wake up in the bad side of the bed, it is already made, like, it kind of makes your day a little bit bad, or no, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. I'm this kind of person that if I have an exam to write, I try to wake up in a good side of the bed. I try to be positive because I'm a very big believer when it comes to positivity. I believe the energy you're giving is the energy you give out. So that morning I was all like, I was happy. I was like, I'm gonna kill it today. In short, I looked myself in the mirror. I told myself, this is my last exam I'm writing, like, because I didn't have time. I literally had to book 2 days off to write this exam. In a space of 2 days, I went again. So I didn't even prepare. But because of that confidence I had in myself, I told myself, this is the last. I don't care how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna play on my favor. And when I got there, fun fact, when I saw the question, I'm like, now we're talking. Like, now we're talking. But despite the fact that the questions were very easy, in the sense that it was something relatable to my career, I still didn't I still didn't rush. I still calmed down, answer the questions, read the questions, follow it one after the other. So sometimes you get to the exam hall, you see questions very easy to kill, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do it well, but it still boils down on how prepared or how organized you were in the exam hall. So that was just it. And honestly speaking, when I saw my results, I was actually hoping to get minimum of 10, 10, 10, 10. So the night I got my result, I was just going, I opened it on my phone. I didn't use my laptop. So when I saw it, I was seeing 11, 11. I'm like, okay, this is like the breakdown of each band. So I'm like, okay, I kept on scrolling. Okay, take me to my actual exam, like my actual result rather. So I kept on seeing 11, 11, 9, 11. I said, okay, can I see? Because in my mind, I already told myself I'm expecting nothing less than 10. So that's another thing again. If you have a target you are aiming at, believe me, that target you're aiming at, you end up going higher or in the middle of that target. So I was actually targeting 10 band, even though I was giving 12 band energy. And when my result came out, I fell on the 11 band energy. And 11 band is almost the same thing with 12 band. It was the same point. So I smashed it and I got my complete point for language exam, which was 135 points. So this is me saying, I don't know who this video will help, but I want to say a very big good luck to you in your exams as you go to write this CELPIP exam. I hope this key points I've listed out helps you smash it, and when you do, please do return back to tell me how well your exam did or how well your exam went, and I'll be more than happy to hear your testimonies. So that is the end of today's vlog. I am actually heading out to my next appointment. So I want to say I will see you guys on my next vlog. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really like, I'm very happy to be back to this channel. And also let me know let me know what kind of topic or any related topic that you feel like I need to share based on my experiences, and I'll be more than happy to throw light on that based on my own personal experiences. Thank you once again. Please stay warm I wish you good luck in all your endeavors. If you're working, if you're schooling, whatever you're doing, I wish you good luck. Just know that God's time is the best. As long as you're putting in the work, it's going to all come to your favor. It will all favor you. And one thing I believe is that if you give out good energy out there, the universe gives you back. So whatever seed you are planting, I've never seen a planter who plants corn and get banana at the end. If you plant corn, you're gonna get your corn harvested at the end of your planting season. So this is me saying, do the good will or the good deed, and you're gonna get your return sooner or later. I wish you a very easy, smooth journey in any of your endeavors as a student or as a worker or someone who is praying to get invited for PR. I joined the host of heaven to say you will be invited for your PR soon. And I can't wait to celebrate with you guys. Thank you once again. And I'll see you when I see you. Once again, is your girl, Emosa Imperial. Thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.